Hello and welcome to another episode of Motors for the Masses, and this week you join us at SLM Toyota in Lowestoft.
And we are back with the all-new 2019 Toyota RAV4 Hybrid. So, roll the intro. First generation RAV4 went on sale in 1994, and as you can see by the pictures here, were very unmasculine in their three-door or convertible guise.
And on to today, where the 5th generation RAV4 has taken on a very different persona.
I'm loving how they've done this in the urban camouflage colour scheme, because it blends in with the wall quite nicely.
The hybrid model comes with a 2.5 litre hybrid engine. And before we go any further, let's touch on this self-charging aspect.
Indeed. Now, in our Corolla video, some people were saying that, where does this go?
I don't know.
People weren't saying that at all.
The
arrow. Some people were saying that self-charging does not exist. But any car that uses its petrol engine to recharge its own batteries and doesn't need plugging into the wall is in fact self-charging. So let's just move on, shall we?
It's self-explanatory.
It is.
With no diesel option, the RAV4 Hybrid comes with 4 models: the Icon, the Design, the XL and the Dynamic. The RAV4 Hybrid uses 2-wheel drive and 4-wheel drive, but not your usual mechanical type.
Indeed, with the electric front-wheel drive version, it has 219 horsepower, and with the all-wheel drive version, it has 222 horsepower. Now, with that all-wheel drive version, it uses an electric motor to just run the rear wheels, with 54 horsepower and 89 pounds-foot of torque. That's what you get from the electric motors, because it's not as powerful as the mechanical setup. Then it uses a separate electric motor under the bonnet, and that develops 118 horsepower and 149 pounds-foot of torque.
The 2.5 litre 4-cylinder engine alone develops 176 horsepower and 163 pounds-feet of torque. Now, it's not entirely clear how we get to these figures for the torques, because you can't just add all the numbers together, but all told, the front-wheel drive version 219 horsepower and the four-wheel drive version 222 horsepower.
However, with the front wheels having twice as much power as the rear wheels, your off-road ability could be compromised, because with all that power going through, you've got your wheels spinning at the front like this and then spinning like that at the back, so surely they'll be spinning up whilst these are trying to get grip.
Possibly, I'm sure they thought about it. However, how many people are actually going to take this thing properly off-road?
Well, very true indeed, but if you do have just under 20 centimetres of ground clearance. So what does that mean in terms of speed and green stuff?
Well, the front-wheel drive version produces 102 to 105 CO2s and does the 0 to 62 miles an hour in 8.4 seconds.
Whereas the all-wheel drive version develops, or uses, whatever it is, 108 CO2s, and that does a 0 to 62 in just over 8 seconds, which is not bad for a 2.5 litre massive hybrid SUV thingy.
It was big.
Indeed. What does that mean in terms of tax? Well, being a hybrid and developing those small CO2s, it means your first year tax, or your VED, is just £135.
So before we take this car out, let's talk a little bit about the styling.
Well, I'm not 100% convinced about this slab of a front end, but I should imagine it's extremely imposing in the rear view mirror.
Yes, the front end has very much a CHR look about it, which I don't really like. However, I know Mark does.
Yeah, I love the way it looks like the CHR, I actually do. The lines around the lights here, very nicely done. The detail on the bonnet, I love how this comes down here and the line sweeps around nicely and the line follows around here and all the curves come down and then one folds into another, and it's all very elegant and designful. Really do like what they've done with it.
You don't think it looks like the bonnet's up?
I suppose from this angle it does look like perhaps the bonnet's up, but it's not an issue.
No.
What do you think?
I actually quite like it.
I really do like it. It's yes, it all flows nicely and it's angular, and that flows into that and that flows around there, which meshes nicely into that and goes around here and up there, and very nice indeed. Just not sure about the
It's nicer than the CHR.
I like the CHR.
Yeah, I like this better.
Well, individual taste.
Indeed.
Anyway, let's have a look round the back.
Yes. Well, the rear end is very square.
And slightly reminiscent of the SsangYong Musso, if you remember that car. If you don't, here's a picture of it now. However, where the SsangYong Musso failed, the RAV4 has triumphed in that they follow the same styling throughout the entire car all the way round to the back. I love how these lights flow nicely round and mesh nicely in with this centerpiece here. I also like things like this. Look, they've got a little flare down the side here, aerodynamics that flow nicely off the body and go well with the light design. You've also got this, the large spoiler with the high level brake lights and a nice wide back end, and that will become important when we open it up and have a look in the back. However, my only concern is this. Now, as you can see, the body comes here and then you've got light, and that to me is a slight worry as to whether that would get damaged.
I do like the side profile. Like the Corolla, it seems to be the best feature for me.
However, with this styling, it does tend to stand out from a lot of the other SUVs on the market. Even though, with its 4.6 metre length, it is pretty much the same as a lot of the other ones.
And it's 1.85 metre width.
And at 1.68 metres high, its wheelbase is slightly longer than its outgoing sister at 2.69 metres.
And it weighs in at 1.7 tonnes, which is probably a bit heavier than most due to it carrying extra batteries and motors and things, being all hybrid and stuff. The wheels on all models as standard are 17-inch, but on the upper three models you can have an optional at additional cost 18-inch rim with 225 rubber.
Yes, now I can't see anyone going for 17-inch wheels on these, to be honest. However, these wheel arches. Now, the wheel arch covers, on this they're not too bad because it blends in nicely being painted with the body. But on a lot of them, they're just that typical plastic, mottled grey trim. And they do stand out a little bit because they look a bit small. And they don't seem to go all the way to the edge of the trim on here and on there. And I'm not quite sure what that's all about, to be honest. I would like to have seen them go all the way down and maybe mould into these, and the same down there. They just look a bit sort of lacking, really. I don't know. Maybe that's just a styling issue for me.
I'm sure they'll do their job and protect the body of little scuffs and scrapes.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm sure they do what they're supposed to do. They just look a bit...
Yeah.
Inside, the driver's seat is actually very comfortable and certainly a nice size and feel. It's very soft leather and it feels very snug, but also very roomy. That might sound a bit weird, but it's snug around the sides, but there's plenty of give in them. I like there's what's the word there? A patterned feel to the grip on here, so it feels like your fingers aren't going to slip off. They're nice and grippy on the door handle there. All the leather is soft touch and lovely blue stitching on this model, but it's very nice soft touch everywhere you go. The multifunction steering wheel, of course, deals with the phone, the console, your cruise control and stereo and everything else that you usually get on a multifunction steering wheel. However, you've also got the lane assist button as well, and don't forget this comes with the intelligent and full range adaptive cruise control that you get on a lot of the big cars these days, but this, on this dynamic model that we're in today, it comes as standard.
As well as pre-collision detection for pedestrians and cyclists.
Oh yes, we must look after our pedestrian friends and cyclists. Anyway, what else does it have? Where the driver's seat is electrically adjustable, the passenger seat isn't, and you have to move it thusly, using fingers and stuff.
Yeah.
But what I do like about this is the little cubby holes you get. Now you get one in here, which is very handy for your keys or whatever, change, and it's got a little light up there as well. You've got your button for the boot and your automatic headlights, and a little tray down here for other stuff that you might want to keep. And then of course you get your bonnet and your petrol flap release down there. In the middle you've got these two cup holders, nice and deep and nice and wide, and of course your center console, which houses two USB chargers and a little coin tray. And who doesn't like a little coin tray? In here you also get your tray to put other stuff in, and another USB, and of course a 12-volt supply.
And on the passenger side you have what I like to think as a McDonald's straw tray. I can't really think of anything else to put in there. And a glove compartment down here, which has no light in it, which could be an issue if it's dark, but I don't see it being a big deal really.
I know that's something that was complained about by people having the previous model, and I'm not sure why they haven't put it in for this model. However, in the middle here, as well as your gearbox selector, you do have the automatic selector, and you can put it into drive and knock it over to use the manual gears as well. You've got your handbrake and your three modes, your eco, normal and sport mode. And under here, you've got another USB and a 12-volt supply. Now, on the American models, they seem to have the charging port on here, and I can't remember whether it's an option on this one. I do like the dials on here. Again, they are nice and textured, like the hand grips, so they're easy to maneuver. And of course, you've got the dual climate control and heated seats. And of course, if you're feeling funky, turn off your traction control. Although anyone who drives this, I can't see them doing that. Now, having no Android and no Apple CarPlay is a bit of an issue for some people. Me personally, don't care, especially considering this car does come with a mirror function. Now, in the apps here, you've got a mirror link up there, and when it picks up your phone, it can mirror link what you've got on your phone screen onto this screen. So, as far as I'm concerned, that's just as good. What do you reckon?
I totally agree. I don't need Apple Connects and Android Plays or whatever it's called.
I wonder if that's more of an American thing.
I don't even know what it is.
Oh, how old you sound.
I know.
What you do get in here is this twin moonroof. I really, really do like that. It does tilt and slide if you want to. We're not going to open it at the moment because it's starting to rain. However, you also get on here your light functions and your alarm thing for the middle and your SOS buttons up there, look, in case of an emergency. You get your little tray for your sunglasses and your auto mirror. Now, on the American versions, from what I've seen, they have a little flip switch like in the old times when we had them on our old cars. And what that does is it flips between the mirror and a rear view camera. And I've read somewhere that I think that's law now to have it in new cars developed in America. We don't get it in here because we don't need to see what's behind us because we've got a rear view camera if we reverse. Other than that, I don't see the point in it really. But anyway, inside it's again nice and textured, and we've got plenty of room here. I'm 5'10½"-ish, and I've got plenty of room, and I'm sitting in a comfortable position. I will move the seat forward because when we go in the back, I'll like this to be where I want to be and not where he sits. So to the back. And in here, it's extremely comfortable, just like the front seat. Now, what I'm amazed with sitting in here is the amount of leg room I have. It's phenomenal. And headroom, I've got that much between my head and before I hit the ceiling. I'm absolutely amazed by how much room there is in here. What I also get down here is 2 USBs, 1, 2. Now, one concern I have is whether it's a 3-seater for 3 adults or 2 adults and a child. But we'll test that out in a minute. What I do like is that, of course, you get your armrest and cup holder trays, and who doesn't like a nice cup holder? You've also got like this soft bit here, and you think, well, can I get through at the back there? No, I can't. That might have been something of an option that I would have wanted on this, maybe a sliding tray that you can put things through if need be, but it seems as though you can't on this. Now, I know it's a split 70 or 60-40 seat, but maybe that could have been something they could have put in. What do you think? So let's check out that middle seat. Well, the first thing to notice is that the floor is actually very low, so you haven't got your knees up around your ears. And with the seatbelt on in the middle, I've got plenty of comfortability. It feels really nice actually. I don't feel as though I'm too high. I don't feel as though I'm going to squash the people either side of me, and my knees are not above my head. This is a very nice place to be actually. Very good. It's a great view out the front there, and if they had a movie on there, I'll be in my element. But they haven't. So I'm not. Okay, let's check out the boot.
Now, one of the benefits of this extremely chunky rear end is that this load entry is more than 1.1 metres wide.
And with all the seats down, 1.8 metres long.
That's sizable.
Let's test that out, shall we? So before we do, as well as this tray that you get in the UK that other parts of Europe don't seem to get, you do get a multi-level floor. Now this can be adjusted and put down, excuse me, I'm trying to do it with one hand here, to a lower level floor. And it's actually really easy to do with one hand, bearing in mind I've got this in the other one. So inside, see if I can get it back out again now. Look, there you go. In you go. There we go. That's it. Up there. Go on, get in. No. Yeah, there we go.
Easier to put it down, it would seem.
Absolutely. Now in here you do get space for a spare wheel if you want one, but other than that you've got this tray that you've got the locking wheel nuts and other bits of shopping if you don't want to put your tripod and other stuff that you use for filming in there. However, you do get little bins in the side here and little adjustable pull-out trays here. So you can get a wider load either side and then put this in if you want to store stuff. It's actually really quite good. I like that. We'll show you that in more detail in a second.
So moving on to reclining these seats to make more space in the back, you do actually have adjustable recline on these, so you can set it there or in fact there. So that's pretty cool. But when the seats are down, we get our 1.8 meters of space. However, it's not totally flat, it's almost flat.
Well, you say that. However, the outgoing model did have a bit of a hump, and what they've got here is the roll mats here, so you can roll stuff up like a suitcase. Now, what I like about this is that, yes, okay, it's not completely and utterly flat, but bearing in mind it's a hybrid, the batteries are under there, but they are quite low under the seat, so it is as low as you're going to get it, and I think that's actually pretty impressive.
You're going to get a piece of small furniture in here, like a tool boy or something, with no problems.
Like I say, I've seen a lot of other models that have like you get to here, then you've got a massive hump before you, so you can't really put stuff in lengthways. It's more of a, at the moment, it's like a, I don't know, a divan bed with a slightly raised pillow area.
Oh yeah.
What you also find is that this rear tray is easily removable. You just pull that in and out it comes. And lengthwise, you can get one whole Malcolm in there. Excuse his disgusting shoes.
Yep, it's a bit muddy out.
How does that feel?
If I was just chilling out, it's all right.
Yeah?
Yeah.
One other feature about this, now if you move your legs slightly please, is that this apparently has a feature that stops children getting trapped. Now, I don't know if I'm going to be a bit stupid here, but I'm going to close this on my legs and see if it works. Be prepared to send me to hospital. Oh, that was actually really soft. That detected my legs. I honestly thought it was going to give me a bit of pressure, but that was really, really good. What an impressive feature that is.
I'm not sure I'd want to put my fingers up here or something though.
No, I'm not testing that.
No. So to share a bit more detail on these little cubby holes and things, there they are. Just push the little levers down, that comes out of there. Pop that back in there, not a problem, that comes out. And I believe what they've done here is they've created a space so that when you take this out, you can actually lose it underneath, perhaps. Just like so. And lose it under your carpet. Look at that. You also get some tie downs. These things are really handy when you've got lots of stuff. You don't want it flying around in the boot when you're driving around.
What you also get is an interior light at the back there, and of course a USB socket, 12-volt supply, if you will.
Yeah, it's not USB, is it?
No, 12-volt supply. It's what I said on the second attempt, so that'll do. Move on. Now, before we take this out on the road, I just want to touch on that load space briefly. Now, there's been some conflicting information on various websites and videos about how much load space this actually has, and Toyota have been a bit stingy with their information. However, it seems that there is just over 1,000 litres with the seats up in the back there, and 1,690 litres of space with the seats down. But don't take our word on it. For now, let's take this thing out on the road, see what she drives like. First I shall have a go, and then he shall have a go. And we'll do some talking in the meantime.
Yeah, and we'll ask some questions of each other and so on.
Let's put it in drive and whisper away.
Oh yeah.
In fact, the only thing you can hear is the sound of rain. Unfortunately, I say unfortunately, thankfully we'd finished all our filming outside because it just decided to open up and chuck it down and blow a gale at the same time.
interesting little fact about this car is that the batteries are nickel metal hydride and not the usual lithium.
Yeah, that's because they are cheaper to manufacture, and all that will become clear when we discuss the price later on. However, what about the gearbox?
Well, as per the norm these days, the RAV4 uses a sequential CVT transmission.
Indeed it does, which basically means it goes woo, like a vacuum cleaner.
Yeah.
Except no, in this it goes because it's really, really quiet. I'm actually surprised at how quiet it is. Even when the engine kicks in, the 2.5 litre petrol engine, it's still extremely quiet.
It is a very quiet car. That engine cuts in very quickly, doesn't it?
It does. Now, we were talking to Peter from SLM in Lowestoft. He drove this on a 30-mile journey, and he said that whilst he was playing with it as it was going along, he managed to get 68.8 on that 30-mile journey as an average MPG. Now, to me, that seems pretty impressive. However, from the way he was describing it, it also seems like hard work. Now,
Seems like you'd be driving super slow.
it was, and he was sort of negotiating the best way to drive and how was the best way to go up and down hills. Now, to me, that sounds like a headache. For you, that's probably something you'd really enjoy.
I have tried it. I tried it in the diesel car that I had prior to the one I've got now, and I did get some pretty good mileage out of it, but it is hard work.
So it depends, though, whether you see that as a game or a bit of a chore.
Yeah.
And for me, I don't care, because I'd just rather push sport mode and do that.
Which it does quite well.
It does, actually, really well. And corners fantastically. Wow, that is pretty impressive.
Doesn't feel like an SUV, does it?
No, I also like the way it goes red for danger and aggressive driving.
No, sport.
Ooh,
A little bit of wheel spin.
a little bit of spin on the front wheel drive, being a front wheel drive model, this.
Yeah.
But, ooh, fun! Oh yes, fun!
That's surprisingly sprightly, and
And it handles
It feels really good on the
good.
road. Yeah.
You can also feel when you hit the puddles under braking, there's not even a lot of aquaplaning. There's a tiny bit, then you can feel the brakes go, no, you're driving like a knob end. Stop it.
It catches it.
Absolutely. And then back into eco mode, or normal if you're just normal, and serenely there you go.
Yeah.
Wow. Quite impressed.
I didn't feel very uncomfortable in that either. Normally, as a passenger, when someone's driving spiritedly, it makes you feel a little bit uncomfortable.
It does.
But it just, I don't know if it's the riding position or the comfort of the seat. I don't know, it just felt pretty good.
Also, when you're driving, there's a little bit of unknown. How is this going to handle? Is it going to take the corners well? Is it going to get upset about puddles and aquaplaning? And it took it all in its stride.
That was very
What a
good.
fantastic car. Really handled well. What we shall do now is take it out onto the dual carriageway and see if it does the same again, in sport mode, of course. Before we do that, we'll leave it in eco and take ourselves around this roundabout rather gently. And again, we must apologise for the sound that is echoing off the roof there.
I think it's actually the back window. It's driving so hard, the rain is just making loads of noise. Now it's the side look.
It is very windy and very rainy. Look at that seagull, he's going nowhere.
Awesome.
Serves you right. That's what you get for crapping on people's cars. MPG figures, as we were saying.
Yep.
Now, Peter managed to get 68.8 on that journey. We've averaged today 33.4, and that's spirited driving, not spirited driving, pulling away sharply, trying to keep it in eco mode. That's about average. It's only over a short journey. Now, there are lots of features you can do on here. You can play all day long on this thing. If you go to the right, you can choose on your settings, when we get to the settings, down here, vehicle settings, Hello? Vehicle settings. Oh no. Oh, hang on. It's in there somewhere. Anyway, vehicle settings, you can change it onto full mode. Full mode, so it shows what you're doing overall. And the overall MPG on this is around 59.
That's not bad.
That's actually pretty good for normal everyday driving. So again, what we're going to do, we're going to do a little experiment. First of all, we're going to keep it at 40 miles an hour and keep it in eco mode. And then I'm going to floor it. So here we go, floor it. To 70. That wasn't bad. It wasn't extremely rapid, but it was okay. So now we're going to stick it in normal mode. Down to 40 again. And floor it. I don't know why it's saying 40. This is a dual carriageway. It's a 70 mile an hour dual carriageway. And you definitely felt more revs and more power there.
Yeah.
So one last chance. In sport mode, the dial goes red. Down to 40 miles an hour, and again, a little bit more urgent. Now, there doesn't seem to be a huge amount of difference between all three modes when you put your foot down.
Yeah, I suspect what that's doing there is maybe changing how the gearbox is working.
It is, and the setup on how the car handles. Yeah. So when you go around corners, eco mode will be a bit more lenient and keep you safer more, whereas sport mode is basically the car saying, well, if you think you can handle it, go on then. We'll give you a little less control on your suspension and your braking and your all that gubbins. Okay, so for me, this is a big test like we did before. Sitting in the back of a car is not great for me. So what I'd like you to do, Malcolm, if that's okay, and I'm sure it is okay, is to launch when it's clear.
You want me to launch it?
Yeah, just to see what it'll do. Wow, do you know what? Not a single bit of feeling sick. Wow.
70.
Wow. That is really impressive. I'm amazed, actually.
Well,
I really am amazed. Usually I feel a whoa as we pull away, and I feel as though I'm going to throw up pretty quickly, and not at all. I could easily sit on a long journey on here, and I think that's because I've got lots of space around me and I don't feel cramped. Really impressed.
This is a very comfortable place to be. It's a nice driving position. I mean, obviously you can move the seat and stuff, but the mirrors are big. Plenty of view out that back window as well.
I'm just going to pull this seat forward a bit because I can have that forward, can't I?
You're reclining.
To see if I've, yeah. It's actually really good, and there's not a lot of roll on cornering either.
No.
It's very stable.
Well, that was about 35 on the roundabout there.
Wow, I'm amazed, to be honest. I wasn't expecting it to be this good.
It's very smooth.
I mean, make no mistake, it's not a luxury SUV. But for its price point, which again we shall come on to in a moment, I am utterly impressed.
I like it, actually.
Well done, Toyota.
Yeah.
How does it compare to your Kia Sportage?
That's tricky, because I really like that Kia.
Right.
What I do prefer on this one is the constant variable transmission.
Okay.
Because on mine, although it's an automatic, it's a DCT, 7-speed DCT, and it constantly changes gear because there's so many gears.
Okay.
So if you're hovering along at 30 mile an hour, it'll be fifth, no fourth, then fifth, no fourth.
Right.
So it depends what you do with your foot as to what gear it's in, unless you switch it to either flappy paddle mode or you can do it manually on the stick as well.
What about comfortability?
Seats wise, these seats feel more, what's the word? Figure hugging.
Okay.
Whereas the Kia, they're sort of quite open sides. They don't have a big bolster on them.
They do feel soft to me. I mean, I've got a 2016 Ford Ranger, and I know that's very commercial, but it's got all the trimmings and all the leather and everything else. And these feel a lot nicer on the soft touch.
That's a very soft material, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
It's very nice. I like the design on the back here as well. It's quite pleasing. It's almost voluptuous, shall we say. Sounds a bit weird, I suppose, but it's got just a nice shape to the back of the seat. It's not ugly to look at. I think this moonroof thing makes a massive difference.
Yeah, I like that, although it'd be nice if it came forward further.
Right. It does. Oh, it's got the electric button up there to move the slide along, so you can close that if you want to. Interior light. Yeah, very good. Grab handles for crazy driving, but in this I don't feel I need them.
There's very little body roll.
It's really impressive. Big windows at the side here as well, so there's a lot to look out of.
This is a fairly big roundabout, and that's 25.
I feel completely comfortable in this car.
Yeah, that's pretty good, isn't it?
Yeah, very impressed. So what about your position as a driver?
It's a really nice position to be in. You're nice and high up. I mean, I'm used to that with being in an SUV anyway. But my elbow rest, by which I mean the door, is in a good place. It's just right for me to sit my arm on. It's soft as well. The armrest on the other arm is just the right place. Seats are comfortable. Pedals are in the good position. I like it. It's a good driving place to be.
So one other button that you get in this is this EV button, and you can push the EV mode and it goes into EV mode up to 60 miles an hour. That's pretty impressive. That's how you can play with the trip computer to try and get that miles per gallon down. If you keep it in EV mode and keep the speed at around about 50-55 miles an hour before it trips into petrol mode, you can keep the MPG really high. Like I said, don't know if that's something I could be bothered to play with.
I probably would for a couple of weeks.
You'd probably play with it all day long.
For a couple of weeks, and then I'd get bored and just use the car as a car.
Right, now I'm going to try an experiment here. I have the key and I'm in the car. If I lock the car, it recognises there's someone in it and will not lock. That's actually quite interesting. So what we're going to do is get out, unlock it, and then try it again. And then what we're going to do is show you that it's got keyless entry. So there we go, you see? As long as I've got the key in my hand, I can just put my hand behind the door handle and unlock it. And to lock, you can either run your finger along the top, or it's also got one underneath in case the top is covered in snow. How cool is that? Let's try that out, shall we? Impressive, eh?
And that is, of course, much better than this design here, which is a stupid plastic button.
Right.
Which is really annoying.
And that's the Kia Sportage. Yeah. So that's actually pretty impressive. I like that feature. What I don't like really is the key. It's a bit boring. But who cares? You're never really going to see it,
in your pocket.
Exactly. So I just want to touch for a second on this trip mileage, because it was bugging me. I've figured out the reason why I couldn't get it to work. I was being impatient. Now, like I say, you've got all your options on here, your lane assist and your lane don't go out of, and your parking radar stuff and all that gubbins. So if you go down to vehicle settings, or settings, you hold it for 1 or 2 seconds. Then it opens up the other options. And in the eco section where it's got a little leaf, you click on that and you can go to fuel economy and change it from trip average, which we had it on, to total average. So once you've done that, you back out of it, go back to your average, and it shows overall this vehicle has done 38.9 average miles per gallon, and that is a whole varied variation of driving. Now, considering the book says 49, that's not bad at all.
So what makes this car stand out? It looks good to some. It drives okay. Pretty standard. It's
punchy.
It's punchy for its size. What makes it really stand out though is its price.
Absolutely. Prices start from £29,635 on the road, and they go up to £33,640 for the top of the range, like this one, the dynamic model we have here.
The comparative much lesser powered Honda CR-V hybrid is priced from £29,100 to £37,200.
Indeed, and the Kia Niro hybrid, which is being compared to this, and I don't know why to be honest, because it is much smaller and much less powered than this, that starts from £23,500. But to me, I wouldn't put that in the same bracket as this, because that's more of a car than an SUV.
Yeah. Toyota's more expensive big brother, Lexus, starts their hybrid RX at just a smidge under 50 grand.
I know, that's expensive. But for now, let's get out of this rain and finish this video, because it's getting cold and windy and wet.
It's very cold.
Yeah.
So there you have it. A well-priced, large, hybrid SUV from Toyota.
Absolutely, and that brings us to the end of this video. Thank you very much for joining us. Please don't forget to subscribe, like and share this video, and come back next time when we'll be back with more cars, more bikes and more reviews. And until next time, please remember, ride and drive carefully.
But have fun.
Bye. What was that?